All right, gotta blow the whistle here. Let's open up a page from Payne's investment playbook. The percent of household net worth as a percentage of GDP, believe it or not, we're within striking distance of the all-time high. Of course, this has been led largely by the stock market rally, but the pace of this wealth actually varies at different levels, but it echoes something that a friend of mine told me years ago. He came to America from China with his dad with only the clothes on their back. So one day we were sitting around talking, and I said, how hard was it to become a millionaire? He told me, Charles, the first stick is the hardest. A stick, of course, being $1 million. And apparently that's still true. Check this out. This is 2014. $5 million or more. We've got over 1.3 million people there. It grew at almost 6%. 1 million grew at almost 5%. 500,000 grew at almost 4%. $100,000 households, less than 3%. Do you see a pattern here? Once you've got the cash, it's a lot easier to make a whole lot more. Now, here's the deal. The super rich, let's face it, they're different than you and I because of the way they invest their money. This is what I want you to take a look at. This is the top 1%. Business equity and investments. Wow, look at this whole thing. Can we get this? I got to show you guys this because it is really important. This is where they put their money. This is where the 20 to 80% put their money in the same category. So that's really interesting, but this is even more interesting. You see this number right here? That's cash. That's cash. Most people have more cash in the bank, particularly as a percentage of their net worth, than rich people. Rich people understand cash sitting in a coffee can, sitting under the mattress, sitting in an account that makes no money. Well, it makes you no money. This is it. You know the formula. We've been trying to teach you every night, so let's just see if we can follow up and we can do this again and again and again. It's about an ownership society. This brings us to the real deal. I do pound the table on this every single night. I want you to change your economic circumstances. It is critical that you get started. Listen, it's not about being a millionaire. Being 100,000-aire, if that's what you want to do. Ron, I was checking out your website. I saw your letter. By the way, Ron's letter, you're on the winter 2015 number. I thought I was ahead of the curve. But you have a quote in there. There are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old, bold pilots. What does that mean?
That's just what it means. I used to be a pilot. So there are people who take risks in flying, but they don't get old doing it. Eventually you get bit.
But to viewers, you do have to take a certain amount of risk to change your economic circumstances.
Absolutely.
So how does someone do that?
Well, for 3 years going back, starting last year, we were almost 90% U.S. Now we're 80% U.S. Now we got 5% emerging markets. You dip toes in where you think things are cheap.
But the bottom line is people have to make those investments. Listen, U.S., Europe, the bottom line is the first step is to actually make the investment. Matt, you deal with individuals all day long. That, to me, is the biggest hurdle. For me, it's making the step and then not turning the market into, hey, I bought a stock and it didn't work out kind of game.
You take that savings, that cash that they have right now. I mean, I love to see they have a lot of cash for emergency, but as you said, it's not working for you.
It's too much cash.
No, it's too much. So take that cash and put it in. I think the problem is people don't feel secure enough to take that cash and put it in a market because they feel as if they're gambling, which we've been trying to teach them for months. They're not. But that first step is open an account, get some into the market, just buy an ETF and start letting it go little by little, taking that in. It's the only way. And if you want to buy a business, start a business, you now have investment to do that.
But I think that's the question. Main Stage say they have too much cash. I don't think they do. I think they're getting ahead of the game, but the majority of them feel like they're in this hamster wheel, that every time they might get something a little bit extra, something happens. Lower gas prices, but we got higher health insurance costs. That it's just they're never getting out of it. But I do think they have the optimism. I think the other side is you have these folks that want to get rich.
You think people are optimistic in this country?
I think they're optimistic.
I've never seen more pessimism in my life. And here's the irony. This is a trick. I've seen people on the left pessimistic and people on the right pessimistic. I never seen so many people, my conservative friends, my liberal friends, they all think America is falling apart. I don't even live in a happy
think
valley.
optimism that they themselves can still make $1 million. They don't. If everybody would get out of their way, they themselves can still make it.
No, I mean there's consumer spending. Maybe that's what you're thinking about. That the consumer
I'm thinking they have that confidence in themselves.
But no, I think everyone is still burned from 2008, 2009, 2000. The fact that what matters more in this country is capital than labor, and until that turns around, that optimism optimism won't be there. But you can still invest, and people have that cash clearly from that chart. And the key is to have an investment
or to
plan
make the choices. You know, instead of buying
in
the Nike sneakers, I'll buy the $20 sneakers and take the other $130 and buy the Nike stock. That we haven't been able to get people to do.
Yeah, well, the risk is symmetrical on both sides. We're talking about one side of it, which is people keep too much cash and they get no return on it, and they never get the breakout in terms of their net worth. The other risk is some people try to create shortcuts and take so much risk that they buy low-quality stocks or go for the high flyers, and they become too bold a pilot.
Great point. Right. Those are the bold pilots you were talking about.